Greetings everyone. We've survived Friday the 13th, it's now Saturday the 14th, and we have another Crazyhouse 960 matchup on pychess.org, pychess.org, which is a spin-off of lichess.org. And we're going to watch the games and then put them into the Crazyhouse studies on lichess. And I'll put the link with the video. And the match we have in store for you today is a 6+6 match, but the time's already down to 3 minutes, because I commentate a little bit behind the action. To not disturb the live play, but of course neither player is watching the stream, so no issues there. In fact, neither player knows I'm streaming. So we have CrazyHome from India against ex-MOHAX from Canada. Good friends of each other, and this is a board 2 matchup in the Crazyhouse League. So what do we think about the initial position? And is volume okay? Yeah, volume seems to be okay. So what do you think about the initial position? I'd say the bishops look as if they're developing this way. So getting the bishops out and castling kingside would be ideal. The problem is getting the queen out as well, how to get the queen out. So the danger is this against the queen, so maybe develop the queen quickly. Develop this here, and then castle. This seems to be a natural setup here, and then put the knights over towards the king side. maybe something like this. So let's see how the players reacted to this 960 position. CrazyHome went with developing the bishop and controlling the center. Okay. E4, E5, and central knight. Okay. No real weak squares in this position, I guess. Maybe this is even this was well defended by the knight to begin with. So this. Okay, so quite a symmetric setup, and he's developing this bishop, of course. The one slight surprise, yes, is I thought this bishop might go onto this long diagonal, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing, in fact, both players developing their bishop in a natural fashion rather than the fianchetto fashion. So fairly symmetric position, except that black has played f6 and white has played a3. So this is the idea. Queen a2, knight developing to the center. It's a good knight outpost. Of course, white has the same knight outpost if he wants it. Oh wow, that I did not expect. So this has come as a huge surprise. So I was thinking, because these bishops are pointing towards the queen side, that castling queen side would be slightly risky. But I guess CrazyHome's calculation is the queen is on the queen side, and so is giving some kind of coverage for the king, and so the king maybe tucking it away on b1 is slightly safe. So the real weak square in this position is actually c2. So let's see how they reacted. Bishop f7, and clearly we're going to see a castle kingside here, and we do indeed. And CrazyHome is developing his last piece, and we are up to the live action. So he's developing his last piece. So castles f3. This knight is sort of challenging this knight, but you can never really take it, because black can always recapture with the... Well, actually, hang on. Recapture with the pawn makes sense. Recapture with the knight, are there risks? Maybe not. This is well defended. Hi there, Opera in Disguise. Do I have time to play after this match? I'm travelling after this match, so it was just... I should have woken up earlier and done stuff earlier this morning. I was like just chilling and not really doing anything, so I should have done something earlier before this match. I just kind of kept on procrastinating travelling. But I'm thinking he's these sorts of ideas, and then pick up a rook. But then what's the use of the rook? Because suddenly you lose a lot of your attack. So I will be playing Crazyhouse 960 next Wednesday. But yeah, otherwise I'm okay. So XMOHAX has really gone into a bit of a think, and he's gone a very symmetric route. Apart from casting kingside versus queenside, that's the one asymmetry in the position. Otherwise, just both players have just gone for the same kind of plans. The only difference is knight coming in here and this knight coming in here. Yeah, exactly. So Oppa says a rook would not help so much. It's time to damage. Yeah, this knight is actually better than this rook. Knight d5 takes a knight d5 takes f6 maybe. Oh, that's something I hadn't thought of. Yes, takes and start working away at the dark squares. So instead we have picking up central knight. Interesting. So he had a choice. Do I take the pawn, the bishop, knight? So a lot of decisions with very low on the clock. And he goes for the pawn. Interesting. Was there a case for... Yeah. So maybe white has a slight edge here. Because the real weakness in white's position was c2, but that suddenly there's no knight staring down on c2. The dark squares are... So although that pawn is in white's half of the board, the dark squares are quite well defended in a way. Meaning there's no real threat of another pawn landing on the third rank. Oppa says he wants to avoid a trade on f5, I think. So takes. Yeah. That would just put the pawn closer to the king. So yeah, it's not clear. So trades are helping white, Oppa says. So he attacks the bishop. So what do we think about this? So both sides only have a minor in hand. So why would he want to attack the bishop? So, I mean, could defend. He goes for counterattack. Now that's a nice move, getting the queen open. But hang on a second. Takes, and I guess he wants. Queen could take this pawn potentially. Knight takes knight. Queen takes. So we have to calculate because the queen could end up in the middle of the board. And I'm not quite sure which move, but Oppa says knight d5 instead. I'm not sure if it was in this position. But attacks, interesting. Takes. Okay, so this position, there are a lot of choices, not much time on the clock. My goodness, we're down to 10 seconds. He takes back, and he goes for this. There's so many things you could do. Just going back to this position, he could have taken the pawn as well. He could have dumped a bishop here. Not sure if that's any good. No, that's not really any good. But there's so many ideas in that position. It's such a rich position. Okay, taking that pawn is really good. Gives the king a lot of safety. So pawn takes bishop, pawn takes knight takes pawn, bishop takes queen takes. So white does have control on this square if he wants to take it. The only worry is this square is slightly weak, but then the king can just slide over. It's not. Black doesn't quite have enough, but this is just very awkward looking. I wonder if there was a case for giving... Yes, it's very awkward looking. It's a time scramble. Both sides get +6 increment per game, but this is just going to be a time scramble. Okay, just pawn here, simple move. This queen is just looking stupid on a2. And you want to counterattack somehow, but how? And with less than 10 seconds on the clock. Okay, that's a nice idea. Just block off this annoying... Oh. So there, check. And this is coming. So if you take here, take... He just decides to give up the rook, which is going to be risky because black's going to get a knight as well. Oh, maybe not. So, okay, you don't want to lose the queen with check. That's the kind of annoying thing about that move. But a knight is landing there. Oh, he's losing the queen with check. No, no, no. He just couldn't allow losing the queen with check. He had to go bishop at a2. Hi there, Pethidine. Hi there. So, Pethidine is F Gala on Lichess. Greetings, greetings. No, this is too much. He's allowed too much. So, what's the finish? Maybe just promote to knight? Is there something... Is there something... So, he takes, 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 but then... Yeah. Interesting. So he's drawing the king out. Is there enough to mate here? In the meantime, white doesn't even have a heavy to threaten rook at g8, for example. It's quite a dire situation. So black doesn't find the mate. I'm sure there was a mate there. We're going to have to look on Lichess afterwards. I don't see... I think he's failed to find a mate. Rook takes bishop, pawn takes... Okay, what are you going to do with that bishop? Because bishop here... You could just go here, queen there, here, that would get you mated. Yeah, that would get you mated. So bishop there is actually slightly annoying. King takes pawn, queen there, here. Yeah, so you have to take it, and black only has a queen. Now the thing about Crazyhouse 960, it's so easy just to run out of material. And I think that's what, I mean, CrazyHome might just be lucky here that oh, black's got a second queen though. Oh, ouch. So if here, queen here is checkmate. So here is forced. No, this got to be mate. It has to be mate. There's just not... even though I can't see it, it just has to be mate. Where is the mate? Queen here, maybe. No, where's the mate? Queen here, king here, king here. But where's the mate? Oh, this is forced. Why are we thinking? But I can't see the mate. I'm just stunned. This is indeed game one, yes. Oh, okay. Well, that's also not threatening mate. But it's just so hard to know what to do. Yeah, bishop here, just to try and give some kind of coverage. A pawn is not threatening mate, so okay, let's take the queen. Yeah, absolutely. Take the queen. Now we are threatening mate. And now we're definitely threatening mate. He's only got diagonals. Ex-Mohax really shouldn't have taken the bishop. I mean, diagonals are useless. He wants something else. So I think he's lost it. White can block with the bishop on c3 if needed. Yeah, if this check, indeed. Okay, but now this is just all over. So CrazyHome has really got lucky this game. Pawn at g2 is coming, and ex-Mohax resigns. So while they start out the second game, I'm actually going to not follow the live action for a few moves. I'm going to put the game into Lichess. I'll just teach people how to do that. You go to New Chapter, PGN. You don't do that, sorry. You have to... I need to refresh. You can't just give the PyChess link. You need to refresh and copy the PGN from below the board, and that's what needs to be copied in. Okay, and I've got a stupid title now. Okay, I'm going to delete this chapter. Add a new chapter, PGN. There we go. Now, yeah, I'll just play it quickly through with engine. Everything is visible. Yes. I'll just turn the chat off, which wasn't necessary. So just to, I shouldn't play the opening because that's still live. So apologies for that. Okay. So this is the point where Oppa was saying time to do damage, but he was thinking of these sorts of ideas, which is also another way of doing damage. So this, and then bishop takes knight. This, knight takes, bishop takes f7, rook takes, bishop takes d4. These just going in. Okay, but let's just go forward to the critical point. The analysis board on PyChess doesn't work, correct? So here, Oppa really like knight d5, just going to the attack. Knight a5, not so good. b5 is a strong move, apparently. Knight takes c5, obviously take the bishop, takes here. So why is the reason for just not backing off? It's because... knight takes g7 coming in. Okay, so some kind of counterattack was not a bad idea. Takes, and in this position I was wondering, yeah, why not just take the pawn? And that's not such a good idea because bishop at b5 maybe. Okay, so the engine really is not. So why not just take the pawn? Bishop at b5 maybe. Knight at e7 here. Knight takes knight. Why can't you just take a full queen? And at h6. Okay, so it's a bit double-edged. Sorry, to keep on losing this. But just go quickly back to it. Even just taking the pawn seems to be okay. What other ideas were there here? I mean, I was thinking bishop at g7 was just, I mean, I'm not sure if it's good, but this is an idea. This is not good because you just give up the queen for 2 pieces, and the queen was not, wasn't that active a piece. So, okay, that wasn't such a good idea. So what was actually played in the game? Knight takes here is fine. Oh, knight takes pawn also. Just winning a free pawn was also a nice idea. Okay, so knight takes knight, bishop takes. Knight here, going straight in for an attack. Apparently this was stronger, but okay, this is interesting. And here black takes here, and at d3, so a really nice move at d3 from xMOHAX, and at this point it's very uncomfortable. Knight e2 takes, if king takes, you've got bishop takes knight check, and then knight coming in here, we're picking up the queen potentially, all sorts of dangerous ideas. So this, bishop takes knight, so even stronger apparently is taking the rook first, and then putting another pawn on c2. But okay, taking the knight, knight d4, this is all just really good for black, and this I think was the critical mistake actually, taking the bishop, because you're allowing the queen to be captured with check. And I was thinking at this point something like this, but Stockfish has better ideas. Bishop at c4, a little bit more active, so you always look for the slightly more active moves. So you're willing to give away that queen with check, but as long as you have a bishop covering your light squares. Now this was a disaster, allowing knight takes queen with check, and the mating idea was to be takes, and now you've got a knight in hand, so at b3, king takes, a knight in hand is just going to finish this off, a knight at d4. So the central square is going to finish it off. Queen at b3 apparently. If king b1, rook a2, queen takes b2, so you go king b1, and black just needs a pawn to kind of get in, and apparently you just go and grab the pawn and there's no direct mate. And black will just be easily mating. Instead, what happened in the game was this, and black is still in complete control until the rook check. And I thought still there might be some mate here. This is stunning. You know, 2 queens, but there is no mate. Amazing. a3 is safe. Okay, I really should get back to the live action, so apologies for that. Let's go to the current games. I hope the current game isn't... Wow, they've only just started. Or they really thought a long time. Amazing. So we see xMOHAX again go for e4. So I just look at the analysis. The best thing to look from human perspective analysis and later check if the lines are right. Knight a4, best move in lower depth. Interesting, says Arthur. Yeah, I'm sorry for just looking at the analysis straight away. Knight a4 was the best move at lower depths. Oh, was it? I thought your suggestion was good. So just to I thought centralizing your knight was clearly a good idea. So knight d5. Yeah, so I think knight d5 is good. Knight a4 doesn't make sense because you're putting the knight at the edge of the board. You're right that there's a little bit of oscillation at low depths, and it's not quite sure. But my hunch is knight d5 is good. Okay, knight a4 is hitting the bishop, so knight a4 is going into some sharp lines for sure. And I guess if the bishop just retreats, then this is good apparently. So king takes, knight at f5, and then you're picking up another knight, so it's very dangerous. So there's a certain tempo that comes with. Whereas when you go knight here, maybe black can defend a little bit. Whereas you see if you go knight here, if he tries to defend, this bishop is sort of hanging, or else you're getting an attack in on f7. But okay, back to the live action. Knight d5, fine 2. Yeah, so what is the final analysis of that? In the final analysis, it's actually slightly preferring knight a4. So it's going for the tempo move rather than going for the centralization move. Okay, but back to the live action. E4, I was not expecting this move. I was thinking, I mean, this move comes at some point for sure. This move is stopping d4. Centralized knight, and we're seeing the same from both. Oh, we're not seeing the same. See, if Black had played this, I'd say we're seeing the same patterns from both players. But Crazyhome, and I'm going to commentate from Black's perspective, from Crazyhome's perspective. So yeah, opposites. Knight d5, fine 2 wins simply a pawn since takes e6 and mate ideas. Knight takes g7 and takes f7. Yeah, in that last game, taking on the g7, taking on f7. So it's kind of dangerous. So from Crazyhome is going quite active from the get-go, and again, xMOHAX is going for the slightly more central approach, and he's doing this knight a5, knight to the edge of the board, hitting the bishop. So what would be the motivation for that? It's saying I really want a bishop. The bishop doesn't really have anywhere. I mean, here it could go here and here. So this is a way of defending it with tempo, and it's a nice tempo move. But having said that, you can always take and put a bishop here, although it could be hit. We're going to see that. So there's something slightly concerning about Black's position is he's lagging in development. So in the sort of opening moves, just a slight, like the queen is not developed. This bishop is, so I mean, there's other developed pieces. Black has got 2 developed pieces. Simply counting in terms of developed, even though this is not out, this is kind of developed. 2 developed pieces, now 3 developed pieces. And White also has 3 developed pieces. And this is a nice move because it's forcing c3. xMOHAX, is it? Or Monac? xMONAC. Oh, H is an N. Okay. I didn't know that MOHAX was Russian. I've heard. So I was saying it's forcing this, but you can't play this because of knight here check, simply picking up the rook. So hi there, Hercules. Yes, xMONAC, I see. Now that's actually, this move is really quite nice because you don't want to waste a knight to block. Although you could, I mean, you could just put a knight here, but then there are all sorts of ideas like takes and some dangerous knight drop here, or you don't really want to put your knight down pinned, basically. So he just gets his queen out the way, and I just heard some captures. So he captures, and he must be thinking, that doesn't work. So what does he want? He's really picking up knights, is Crazyhome. Okay, so if we just do that calculus we did earlier, it's 2 active pieces and 2 active pieces. So I'm feeling that Crazyhome has actually, his position is considerably improved with this move here. Was there nothing else? And I think xMONAC missed something. He missed queen takes bishop. Queen takes bishop takes and takes the knight. Queen takes bishop. What would Black do if he just takes the knight? There's queen takes pawn check, and then queen takes pawn check, and I don't know. Maybe you could just block with the pawn. It's not all over. Okay, so queen takes bishop, takes the knight. No. Queen takes pawn check, blocks and put a pawn here. I feel queen takes bishop was missed in this position, and suddenly Crazyhome is actually back in this game. So with takes, just in terms of active pieces. So that was interesting. Of course, just pick off the defender and get in on g2. And with White putting his piece in hand back on f1, it's a slight edge, I'd say, to Crazyhome here. There's a slight weakness here potentially, but nothing serious. f6 will probably come hitting here, but that's actually well defended. No, so there is a question how to develop this bishop. Maybe even this is a good way of developing that bishop. Strange though it looks, it feels safer in a way. So this and castle's kingside, but Crazyhome is not really He's not really letting up. He's in full throttle attack mode, and I quite like this move in a way. I mean, it may be punished by a counterattack, but the idea is simply takes and take on g2. And just to look back at the line here, queen takes bishop, pawn takes queen, knight takes knight. He's got pawn takes knight at the end of that. Yeah. So if you just sack your queen and take the knight, yeah, he does have pawn takes knight at the end of it, and that does look a little bit uncomfortable, I have to admit. And yeah, so not clear. So it was a nice move, this bishop at d4. So it's a full throttle attack mode. And as I said, white will respond with a counterattack, because there was no way of defending this pawn with a knight. I mean, he could have played something like g3 or something, just. But there was no way of actually defending that pawn. He could move the pawn to g3, if ever a check, just slide across to d1. That seemed reasonable. But it's a bad idea. It creates a real weakness on f3, so it'd be here. The bishop's the only thing not stopping a mate if you ever got a pawn in hand. So g3 is always a very dangerous move in a situation where f3 is not defended. So, as I said, xMOHAX went for a counterattack, going for g7. So, okay, you can take my g2, but I'll get g7. And like I said, at some point, CrazyHome really needs to develop. How to defend g7. You can just, the simple way of doing it is just knight it to e6. And this isn't a possibility because of this, but maybe he could kick this. No, maybe he could kick it some other way. Again, this is slightly risky. Knight here, check. Picks up the bishop, bishop here, check. I don't know. I can't see anything concrete immediately, but sort of these sorts of ideas. Knight here, check. King here, knight takes bishop, rook takes, bishop takes pawn. You're kind of coming into white's position. You've got to be very careful about weak squares. Okay, so this again, if we just count developed pieces or count undeveloped pieces, this is undeveloped and this is undeveloped. There's two pieces undeveloped. And here, this is also undeveloped. So I still think black's slightly behind in development somehow. So how did that happen? Because I guess black had an opportunity to catch up development here, but decided to go for an attack. And I think CrazyHome's move here really neutralized the immediate attack and set black back on the back foot. So it kind of initiative white again. Okay, that seems to be forcing, like, he needs to develop and he needs to protect this. But the problem is this. Takes, and takes here. And you really don't want to play this, that would be a disaster, and I know CrazyHome, he's not a player to play a move like this. He wants the initiative, and so of course I was about to say, he's going to take that knight just to get back the initiative. Now, do we do this or do we do this? How are we going to develop this bishop? We have a move. We have one move. Or is he going to insist on attacking? You could go knight here. This is well defended. So what's the idea of this move? It looks like he was afraid of something. I'm trying to work out what it was. I don't understand this move. It's only the lack of development is killing him at the moment. Oh, ow, no. Yeah, okay, so we're undeveloping. Painful. So this is a game of chess. This is a game of chess which has swung. We're back to like no pieces on either side. So it's like a game of chess where the advantage has swung for white. White had a slight edge to black having a slight edge to white having a slight edge again. So it's tense stuff. But you have to say, like, when you have no pieces in hand, who has the advantage? The one who's got more space. White's got a lot more space. And he's going to push his development advantage. He's going to just go f3, develop castles, and he's got a very pleasant position. There are no threats on him. And black doesn't have this move. He'd love to have this move, but knight here check, king takes, knight takes bishop just feels too annoying. Rook takes. I mean, but the problem is he needs to do something fast. This is the dilemma. That's why I'm saying I don't think he had this move, but I just couldn't see anything else he could do to develop fast. And time is going to also be a slight issue, down to 15 seconds. Okay, so saving grace is there's no pawn, because pawn here would be checkmate. And it's double covered anyway, even if white did have a pawn. But maybe there are other ideas. So knight takes bishop, maybe you don't take it back. You could also take this knight, but then takes back hits your knight. So that doesn't really work. So rook takes knight seems sensible. Maybe this is okay. It seems annoying, because the reason it seems annoying is you're giving white a bishop, and your dark squares are weak. Ah, he didn't take the bishop. Well, he can take it whenever he wants, and to be fair, this bishop is the worst piece on the board. Okay, then he doesn't want it. Okay, so finally this bishop is developing. The only slightly sad thing is that this king is not on a better square. Okay, so this knight seems to have found a good. The problem is how to connecting your rooks on the back rank is important in chess, but it's important in Crazyhouse too. And suddenly, surprisingly, I'm seeing that X-MOHAX was low on time. So that's a slight weakness. Notice it's always good to recognize the slight weaknesses in a position. It's not defended. It's not attacked. And also this is incredibly dangerous because if white ever gets a pawn, just pawn it. This is a potential queen. So really got to watch those two squares. So okay, he covers one weakness, very nice. This is combining defense and attack, very nice. So it's 20 seconds against 27. Okay, so knight takes here is the threat. Again, white's wishing he had a pawn here. He has no pawns on offer. Just sacrificing. This is actually quite dangerous. This queen comes in. This is actually dangerous. He chooses to come in with the bishop, but that's less dangerous. But you have to be careful still, because so the king is going to try and run over. The point is, if a queen was dangerous because the queen was potentially invading. So he's running. He's running to to g7, and I think he might be okay there. In fact, just run straight across to g7. Yep. And what next? White's out of material. This is the thing about Crazyhouse 960 is it's quite easy for fortunes to change. Maybe okay. I was thinking you don't want to give more material. Knight here check might be annoying. Knight takes rook is threatened, and rook here is okay, but he has counter ideas. Okay, so the point is if you go pawn takes knight, knight takes, king here, pawn here, and white's winning a queen. You don't want to take that knight, so you have to do this. And see the problem with knight here, probably pawn takes was advisable, not bishop takes, because that bishop was providing really important coverage for the king. But okay, this is quite nice because bishop takes knight, knight takes, king takes, but white needs a pawn. Okay, and this is a pawn here is a huge threat. Oh, this is a huge threat. That's a mate threat. What do you do? It is mate. The king's got nowhere to go. Ouch. Yeah. Painful. So the knight and the bishop are covering. Well, what do we see in chat? Nothing. Yeah, just everything's covered. He takes and pawn, just a pawn, just a little pawn. Checkmate. Yeah. Wow. So well played, ex-Mohax. The series ends 1-1 between these two. I'm going to also just head over to Lichess and okay, like Oppa said, I'm gonna put it in without part 2 here. Okay, I'm going to turn analysis off to begin with, and try and compare what our thinking with the so in the initial position, what's the strongest move? Mugwort said G takes F5 and King G6 force. Maybe it's okay. Yes, yeah, G takes. So just going right at the end. Yeah, so G takes F5. Oh, you got King G6. Yeah, but this is looking hairy. This is looking hairy because you're not. Black doesn't have a counterattack, does he? I mean, he does have 3 knights. Hang on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, but still, this square is covered, so it seems to be okay. Yes, I agree, Oppa. First, put my own ideas and then check with the engine afterwards is a good practice. So this, there are no knight checks, but maybe this. But you could even just take it. So and basically, yeah, the white seems to be safe here. So I think that's still crushing, but what went wrong? I mean, because I think what I feel went wrong is just not going pawn takes here. So I'm just going to check the engine. Pawn takes seemed... Ah, no, pawn takes doesn't work apparently. Because pawn takes gives knight d4, it's suggesting. I mean, pawn takes seemed fine, but apparently white can castle, knight d4. Okay, so that wasn't the point at which things went wrong. Bishop takes, knight here. Knight here was obviously something on the cards. I just didn't quite realize how dangerous it was. So what's the defense for black here? Maybe we'll flip the board, because we saw it from black's perspective. So obviously knight here is actually a much bigger threat than we thought. Is it just going something like h5, king h7 or something? I mean, let's see what the engine says. Bishop takes e6, bishop takes d2 maybe. Okay, just leave that on. If you just do something like h5, does that do anything? Then knight takes g6 is annoying apparently. So bishop takes e6. Oh, just taking this, but what's the idea? Just to connect your rooks? Bishop takes e6, d takes e6, bishop takes d2, just going straight in for an attack. And Oppa says 32 castles in this position. Just castle. Get out of all dangers. Not so safe. Because then h2 is weak. Hi there, Crazy Home. Yeah, I can see the beginning of a message. You said I played knight at c6. I'm not sure. No, that's. I'm not sure if this is the game. But you can join in the study, by the way, if you would like. So Crazy Home says I was worried about playing bishop takes d2 without taking care of my king first. Yes, indeed. So, and taking care of the king seems, and also you just don't really have quite enough. You don't have any knight checks after bishop takes d2. So you don't want to give away all this material when your king is not safe. So this seemed quite nice too, but Yeah, so let's see what the engine says. White is winning with this move. Knight f5 check is the one winning move, and if takes, knight takes, king g6, yeah, at g7 we said, and yeah, white is just winning basically. You can try and go bishop takes d2 now, but it's just all there's no nothing. CrazyHome says the knight at c6 was a mouse slip. Oh, yeah, that was a strange move. Yes, of course. This one. It's not a terrible move. It was just like that didn't feel like a CrazyHome move. CrazyHome says I guess both games were good, but I was more worried about bishop c6 and knight at a6 idea, but he didn't see it. So okay, so I mean, just going right from the beginning of the second game. So, and I'll keep the engine on because we discussed our own thoughts without the engine, and so from the initial position, so e4 seems reasonable, but I'm also quite keen on developing this queen. But the engine likes e4, so that's good. I'll just try and put in some of the ideas we thought during the game. So. Yes, so in this position, I thought, yeah, so putting your knights far flung seemed like black had a slight. Engine wants to go f5, very brave, or f6. It seemed like this move gives white a slight edge in development, but and I thought b3 was fine. But why is b3 not fine? Knight takes c4, b takes c4, bishop here. Yes, so I was thinking about this line: queen takes bishop, pawn takes, knight takes knight, but I missed d takes e3 at the end of this. And so who's better here? Maybe black is slightly better here, after all. Yeah. But of course, yeah. So I think this was quite. So this b3 is a mistake because bishop at d4 is so nice, basically. Bishop d4 is an incredibly nice move, and so here. So yeah, so while in this position white had a slight edge, perhaps, although it's not clear how, it's just the knights don't look so appealing. If only you can find some places to put white to put his own pieces. Bishop b5 maybe, yeah, not sure, because bishop b5 you can just hit it again, c6, so it doesn't look that appealing. So okay, and so here. The issue is the queen and the bishop on g8, g1. Yeah, these pieces were very underdeveloped. So that's what I was thinking, that so now black has a slight edge in this position, just going on a nice attack. And this appears like a nice move, but this is probably a move to develop because xMOHAX has a very nice. So f6 here was good, and I think we were thinking that during the game, but. Knight at f5 is a very nice defensive move that xMOHAX found, and suddenly it's white who gets back the initiative. Takes, yeah, knight here was a little bit of a mistake, and then, oh, so apparently this is an idea. Just give this up, and it looks quite scary when you're putting your king, you know, on the just next to an open file where the queen's staring down. I was thinking even of moves like king f8, but obviously that's not such a good idea. So bishop f8 was not so bad. And then, yeah, castles is a really interesting idea. I had not thought of that. The problem is, yeah, so now suddenly it's white who's got, because of that brilliant move xMOHAX found, knight at f5, it's suddenly white now who has the lead. b3 is bad because the queen is... yeah, he should move the bishop c4, maybe bishop f1. Yeah, maybe. And just say, look, this knight is looking silly at the edge of the board. I thought of this idea because any at b6 keeps my king quite safe. So, yeah, so I saw this, and I think the reason you do this is black is incredibly passive. White has a huge space advantage. Neither side has got any material in hand. So it's like black needs to do something and so b6 is something, basically. Castles is also something. We hadn't seen that. That's very interesting. But b6 is something. The reason I didn't like b6 was of knight here check, king takes, and even just knight takes bishop. But knight takes bishop maybe is not such a good idea because that bishop is not the best piece on the board. But I was thinking takes bishop and bishop at c6 and these sorts of ideas were interesting. But xMOHAX found a good move, knight e3, bishop here, knight d5. So xMOHAX is actually playing this perfectly. Here, knight takes bishop, knight takes knight, knight coming in here, knight takes knight, pawn takes, knight f4. So both players playing top moves in a way in this position. So CrazyHome says he missed knight f6 check. Yeah, that was it's a weak square in black's position, so that was the one I was a bit concerned about. So queenside castle, yeah, you're relying on the queen to, yeah, you're losing a pawn, and so it seems like a brave thing to do, and you're putting your king just next to this open b file, so it seems brave. So here white's doing fine. This is a very important move, protecting a very weak square in black's position, so I like that. This is another nice move because just pushing that knight off, and developing the queen, and just pushing the knight away. And xMOHAX goes for the kill at this point. And I was thinking, what about this? Because if you just sidestep, then okay, so pawn and knight in hand. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what the follow-up was, but this looked dangerous with the queen staring in your half of the board. And if you do the engine top move, you're risking trading a lot of pieces. So I was thinking just take it. Rook takes, and I don't know, pawn here, something like this. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, and this is clearly terrible for black, or really hard to play. And if you go here, I didn't actually have a clear plan, but it was to try and maybe even this. Does that work? No, it doesn't work. Okay, fine, because this square is covered. I was trying to think if I could get a knight in there. Okay, but a bishop here check is strong. King e7. Bishop c6. Knight, yeah. So knight here. You see, I think at this point I'm thinking you're escaping quite nicely. So CrazyHome says 27. Bishop e5 followed by bishop c6, and knight at a6 is what he was worried about. Knight at a6. Oh, the queen trap. Right, I see. Yeah, interesting. Stockfish hates it. So if you just do this, knight at a6. Okay, so why does Stockfish hate it? I think the Stockfish hates it is because that bishop is no longer guarding c4. So you have these sorts of bishop takes d2 check sort of ideas suddenly coming up. Bishop takes d2, if just king f1 at e2, so it's very weak. So you have to take it. But now we have knight at c4 and we have a lot of pieces. King e2, knight at f4. And those two knights control all these squares, and the second rank is weak. So it's just not, yeah. So this is actually killing for black. It's all about that c4 square. That bishop is actually a defender. So bishop here picking up the queen means it's no longer defending. C4, interestingly. So knight at c6. But here I thought you were getting away nicely in this game. Here king g7. Yeah, you're even better. But here, okay. Does it work just to go like this? Maybe that, yeah, that doesn't work because of h4, and also that bishop is just a liability for the rest of the game. Okay, so that doesn't work. So so bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop, and then pushing the h pawn. Does that work? No. So it's bishop at c3 check, king e2. So basically, the engine is just very chill about this weakness on h6 because white just doesn't have anything to attack it with. And it wants this. It's seeing a queen trap back, so which is obviously dangerous because a queen could then land on d2 and so on. So it's seeing the same idea for black as opposed to for white. Yeah, g5. That's interesting because I might play g5 and it's a huge mistake in this position. So there's my weakness. Okay, so knight blocks. I was thinking pawn takes because you want to keep your bishop protecting your king, but apparently bishop takes is much stronger because the problem with pawn takes is what's the problem with pawn takes? Castles is one thing. I'm not quite sure what the problem. So bishop takes though is good because, but anyway, I think bishop takes also keeps your own threats alive. So keeping your bishops open is a good strategy. And this is really key now. This point, this is a key move. And I was thinking bishop takes d2 is nothing because just king takes. There is no knight check. What are we going to do here? Bishop takes pawn. Okay, that's temporarily protecting this. So you have to take back. And then bishop to h6 protecting the king again. King c3. Okay, so apparently this sort of thing, apparently this is fine for black. It looks quite scary, but yeah. Yeah, so e takes f4, kills your bishop and takes away protection away from g7. Yes. Yeah, that's again a weakness in my own play. So bishop takes d2 here was key, and getting some kind of counterplay, and just by doing this, it allowed this knight at f5, really lethal, just knight takes g6, pawn here, checkmate. Really lethal a mating net that ex-Monac constructed. And CrazyHome says, I started playing this like chess instead of Crazyhouse, and that's understandable because you have a kind of edge. You have a kind of edge, and you just want to kind of just defend the threats, and then you have a material edge which you can then convert quite easily. And I mean, as we saw in the game, he mates you with the final pawn. He has one pawn left, and he mates you with it. So, it's an extremely, extremely. This was a mate threat basically, or almost a mate threat. So, of course, there was defense. This looked really uncomfortable, going to king g6. I mean, this is game over as well. Yeah. Okay, and then the first game we saw was we had a quick look in between the matches. What was the critical point in the first game? Knight a4 was... Oh, interesting. Sometimes it does that. So critical point in this game would have been... Yeah, maybe it's here, knight takes pawn here was a nice idea. But the critical point really was when ex-Monac's mating attack failed, because it looks like he had a really strong attack, and the reason it fails is something very... yeah, this is critical. Allowing the queen to be captured with check is dire, so obviously bishop here bishop here rather defending was the strongest move, probably. But the critical moment is here, playing knight at instead of promoting to knight. So keeping that knight in hand for later, if you promote to knight, you've got in the future b3. He would have in the future b3 and knight at, and this is capture a pawn, and this is crashing. Yeah. So it takes here, and then at a2, king here. I was going to say rook at b1, rook takes b1, knight c2, something like this. So ex-Monac was in a way unlucky in game 1 and quite lucky in game 2. It's the paradox of, like, I'd say by justice, X-Monax should have won game 1 and Crazy Home should have won game 2, but this game is not just. And so, of course, in this position, X-Monax resigned because if he takes, there's knight at f5 or knight at h5 check, and it's going to be mate very shortly. There's no escape, so you have to run up. But if you run up, then what's the quickest way of doing it? Bishop here, does that work? No. Queen g4 is pretty nice. Queen g4, if you block, bishop here is mate. So you run, and then rook here is checkmate. That's a neat one. If you did just the standard this, king takes f5. Problem is king might be running to here. I want to go bishop here, but the king is running to here, but it's still got no further. Okay, it wants to go this way, and so you make like so. Okay, but this is using a lot of material. And so just to conclude, yeah, Crazy Home says, of course it's a pleasure playing X-Monax, good friend and a good player too, of course. Crazy Home and X-Monax, both wonderful Crazyhouse players, and it was great seeing your match. And I'm going to update the spreadsheet if one of the players hasn't already done so on the Crazyhouse 7.960 Crazyhouse League spreadsheet, and hope you have a good weekend. See you, everyone.